Well, it's the middle of July and the corn is in full swing. Time for a garden update. Well, here I am in my corn patch. This year I have planted the variety Silver Queen. This is a local favorite around here, so I felt sure that it would do pretty good, and it has not disappointed me at all. It's a very sweet corn. Been very pleased with it. As most people know, you gather corn when the tassels turn brown, and not just brown, but a nice dried out brown like this. So there's hardly any moisture in that. And you can also go by the feel of the cob. You want a nice, thick, plump cob for your corn. When I planted the Silver Queen, I actually planted 8 rows of Silver Queen and then waited several weeks and then planted 8 more rows and then waited several more weeks and planted even more rows. Now I did that just so I would have a nice succession of corn here at the farm, and so far it has worked pretty well. The first rows have almost played out. This is the second batch we're in right now, and you can see my third batch is still probably a little over knee high, so it still has several weeks before it will even be tasseling. Well, here we are in our chicken coop. Now, I haven't given you an update since we tried to grow chickens a couple years ago. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of those to a raccoon when we left our electric fence unplugged. This time, however, we built a much more sturdy cage for them. A raccoon will not be getting in this cage. Now, despite the size of this cage, this is actually a movable chicken pen. The bottom is open so they have fresh grass, and once a week I'll pull this with my tractor about the distance of the chicken coop to give them fresh grass. They really appreciate that. We have 9 hens and 3 roosters right now, which is about 2 roosters more than you need. But the hens are doing their job. They're starting to lay eggs. They started laying eggs a few weeks ago. So we are getting anywhere between 5 to 9 eggs a week, which is actually pretty good. Now, some of the eggs are still very small. When a chicken starts laying eggs, the first couple of weeks, the eggs are a lot smaller than what you would normally, not super small, but look like maybe a grade B egg from a grocery store or something like that. However, we probably get 3 or 4 of them that are grade A already. And you can give them another couple of weeks and they'll all be that size. Hey. They're also very curious. As you can see, they all have come up here to see what I'm doing. Very tame chickens too. Well, once again, we are growing flowers at the farm. We have some cutting sunflowers, which we've been selling at the farm. But we also have these huge sunflowers we're growing for the seeds. You can see once they bloom, like this one up here, as it gets older, it develops a bigger head, and then will just hang down, and then these will all develop the seed. What we do with them is then after it gets nice and dry, we'll cut the stem off a few inches, run a wire through it, and hang it outside, and birds will just eat it. They love the sunflowers. This isn't the only flowers we're growing though. We actually have put in a flower border. I actually shouldn't say we, my wife did. Put a flower border in. And not only does it look attractive to humans, it also serves a second purpose. Many of the plants attract beneficial insects. Come with me, I'll get her to give you a tour of it. Well, this is my lovely wife, and really she is the one who did the flower border, and she by far is the flower expert. So I'm going to let her give you the tour of the flower border.
Well, I would love to show you a little bit of our flower garden. It is late July in Georgia, and we do very little watering of this flower garden. Actually, we only watered when we first planted the flowers. We've chosen varieties that are drought tolerant. We have given lots of good soil to the flowers. We make sure we put manure in, had the soil prepared before anything was planted, and we've used a lot of mulch. We've had mulch donated from the local utility company, and all those things have helped so that all of the flowers are getting by really well without any supplemental watering at this point. I've lost a few flowers this summer, but as you can see, most things are doing well. I have transplanted a lot of these flowers from our home garden. We're growing mostly perennials, They're very easy to divide during the fall or maybe early spring, so you don't need to spend a lot of money to get a good flower garden going. Maybe just some patience. Over a few years, everything will multiply, and we really enjoy the colors, but we also enjoy having the beneficial insects that come along. We enjoy watching the butterflies and the hummingbirds and even the birds, like the goldfinches. They stop by every morning and perch on some of the flowers, and they're a lot of fun to watch. I will walk through and show you a few of my favorite flowers now. This is a clump of Rudbeckia, and it is extremely drought tolerant. It's commonly known as Black-Eyed Susan, super easy to grow, and it will bloom for a long time period during the heat of the summer. This garden phlox is a variety known as David, and it is really easy to grow. It self-sows like crazy. I had just tons coming up at home. Beside me I have some lantana. This is Miss Huff. It is a perennial, and it will become a very large bush over time. This is its first year, and I did purchase this plant as a cork, and you can see how large it is just in this first season. And behind me I have a butterfly bush. I do not know the variety of this butterfly bush because we bought it years ago, and it just reproduces like crazy. We deadhead the butterfly bush. When it starts to get a little brown like this, we will try to deadhead, cut this out, and it will continue to put out new blooms. Mark gets on to me because I'm a lazy deadheader. When I deadhead, I'll just throw it on the ground and let it go in with the mulch. Somehow I just create lots of butterfly bushes that way with the seeds. So this was a baby from home this spring. This is purple coneflower, also known as echinacea. Very easy to grow, very drought tolerant. I have heard that it's difficult to transplant, but it actually transplanted pretty well for me this spring. I moved several plants from home. And this plant is just about gone by. I can cut this back, but this is a variety of verbena bonsariensis, something like that. But it just self-sows like crazy. Tall purple spikes that are really a nice accent.
Watermelons, anybody? Look at this. Watermelons all over the place. Watermelons are doing very well this year. This variety is Sugar Baby. It makes a small, compact icebox watermelon. This watermelon looks pretty good, but it still has probably 3 more weeks before it'll be ready. Still solid to the thump. When you start thumping it and it sounds hollow, that is the old-time way of telling if it's ready. So that's usually how I go. Plus, a safer way is just go by the germination date. I know I planted this in mid-May, so it's going to be ready 90 days later in mid-August. We're now at the end of July. I'm growing hearts of gold cantaloupe this year. Very productive as well. Well, here are my blue lake green beans. I have 3 40-foot rows here, and I have 3 more 50-foot rows in another part of the garden. However, these are the better looking green beans. The first 3 rows, the other 3 rows, we had planted much earlier. These are my second wave of green beans, again, to keep the succession going. I think the traditional way to gather green beans is stooped over, going through the vines and picking the green beans and toss them in the basket. The problem with this is the time the end of the season comes, your back is killing you and you're ready to rip these out. I've adopted another method. I will actually take knee pads, put them on my knees, and then stay on my knees and shuffle along on my knees gathering the green beans. This way I'm able to keep my back straight, and it's much easier on me than stooping over. If you have good knees, I would try this. If you're raising just one crop to sell, well, okay, maybe not one crop, because if you're raising one crop, raise tomatoes, for crying out loud. But let me show you a crop that is extremely easy to raise and very productive. It's banana peppers. Look at this plant. Look how loaded it is with banana peppers. We get tons of banana peppers off these plants, and they sell very well. They're great. You can slice them up, put them in a sandwich, stir fry, all kinds of things. They're a very versatile plant and very productive and easy to grow, easy to pick.